Okay. Um, so I found out about this yesterday. Um, you know how we've talked about Thomas Sowell on stream a lot? Well, it turns out conservatives really love this guy, Thomas Sowell, an academic who has never published any studies or papers. He's only gone on, curiously, to publish books, which are not peer reviewed, oddly enough. Um, this has made, he's also very well known beyond just his books for his interesting takes on the civil rights movement. Thomas Sowell is notably a black man who considers the civil rights movement to be one of the biggest blows to the African American community in history, and that he considers it better for African Americans prior to the civil rights movement and the Civil Rights Act. So that's kind of where he's coming from, and this has made him somewhat of a beloved figure, intellectual figure, among members of the conservative talking head society. You know, the likes of your Ben Shapiro's, your Candace Owens's, etc. Right? Well, I am about to introduce you to another guy who's a really big fan. Notably, Clifton Duncan. One Clifton Duncan here has a GoFundMe campaign that has already been met 7 times over to put on a solo play about the ideas and life of Thomas Sowell. And it's called Sowell, a solo play about an American genius. Just read this quickly. My name is Clifton Duncan. I'm a shy army brat who earned his MFA from America's top acting conservatory, eventually found himself starring off-Broadway opposite Tony Award-winning actors, on Broadway in a beloved British comedy, and on TV with veteran actors like Scott Bakula and Jimmy Smits. I've conquered everything from musical comedy to Shakespearean tragedy, and now I want to pour my 20 years of talent, training, and experience into taking on the greatest challenge of my career, becoming Thomas Sowell. Born during the dark days of Jim Crow, Dr. Sowell rose from humble beginnings to establish himself as one of the most brilliant minds of the 20th and now 21st century, courageously cutting through conventional wisdom and speaking difficult truths on race, culture, history, and the human condition at large. Unsurprisingly, his controversial and often countercultural views mean he's been marginalized, not recognized. Well, also the fact that he hasn't done any research that has been peer-reviewed whatsoever. So mainly, all of his work was just kind of massaging facts to agree with himself. That is, until now. My ultimate aim is to develop a dynamic solo play and embody Dr. Sowell as only I can. Other monumental men such as Paul Robeson and Thurgood Marshall have received the same treatment, and eventually share this work with the entire world. But I need you and your support to get a solid first draft off the ground. Alright, let's take a look at the pitch video here. Also, Kevin Maxwell Smith, thank you for the $7.77 super chat on YouTube. Twisted my ankle while enjoying the great outdoors. Is there a nature goddess I can worship, or am I done for? I mean, if you're still in the great outdoors, you done, son. If you're back in the great indoors, then by all means, pray to the various nature goddesses. Or book an appointment at your local doctor. Let's watch.
Well, hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and as always, everyone in between. My name is Clifton Duncan. You probably have no idea who I am, but that's okay. None of us is perfect. I have a proposal to make to you today, but first, a little background, a little bit of a story. So way back in 1977, James Earl Jones did a play called Robeson, a one-man play about the actor and activist and athlete Paul Robeson. Way later on, Lawrence Fishburne did a play called Thurgood, a one-man play about Thurgood Marshall. Off-Broadway, a great actor named John Douglas Thompson did a play called Satchmo at Waldorf, a one-man play about Louis Armstrong. I thought to myself, who would make a great subject for a one-man play that I could create myself? And the perfect answer came up, and that of course was Ryan Gosling. But this isn't Netflix or Disney, so I said, who would I be believable as in playing and portraying? The answer
I'm okay, but for real though, it'd be really great if instead of doing Thomas Sowell, he did Ryan Gosling instead. That would be a great one man play. Okay, do Ryan Gosling, do it. That would be great. I would like that actually. That could be very funny.
I came up with is Thomas Sowell. Who is Thomas Sowell, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, even if you didn't. Tom Sowell was born in the...
Also, what's with the frame? Like, you say you're a TV actor, but why is your head framed so weirdly in this video that, like, your chin is, like, ducking below frame here, bud? Why?
If you didn't, Tom Sowell was born in the dark days of Jim Crow America. He rose up to become one of the most revered thinkers of the 20th and now 21st century. One of the reasons you haven't heard of him is because his views are a bit controversial, a bit countercultural, shall we say. He just cuts right across conventional wisdom, and that's...
Could you share some of his countercultural views? It'd be great if you could share some of his views. What makes him so controversial? Let's just real quick here. Interestingly enough, there are plenty of academic works about Thomas Sowell. Interestingly enough, here's an article from the Journal of African American History, titled "Thomas Sowell's Quixotic Quest to Denigrate African American Culture: A Critique." Literally, Thomas Sowell's greatest contribution here is framed as hating black people.
That's why I think he'd be a perfect subject to make a show about, to cut through the cultural zeitgeist, and I am the perfect person to make that play. I've got 20 years of experience on stage and screen. I got my MFA from the best acting school in the country. I've done off-Broadway, on-Broadway, TV, regional theater. I've excelled in everything from musical comedy to Shakespearean tragedy, and I want to pour that 20 years of experience into creating a show about Thomas Sowell. So my long-term goal is to craft the show and to tour it and share it around the country with audiences and hone it, then upload it online to share with the rest of the world, so it can be enjoyed in perpetuity. You would never see a show like this developed in our traditional cultural institutions, and I think it would really shift the paradigm and really forge a new way to develop exciting, vital theater. So I just need you and your support in that first step to get a first draft together. So all the details will be in the description below, and I hope that you can help me out on this exciting journey. And
I was hoping he was gonna try and like dress up as Thomas Sowell at some point. Like I thought, can I transform into Thomas Sowell? I thought he was going to like do like a transformation sequence to like a makeup test of like, this is how I would look like as Thomas Sowell. I thought he was gonna do that. I'm a little disappointed that isn't what's in the video, but that's okay.
And thank you very much.
Anyway, here's Thomas Sowell in 1962 writing The more I follow the integration struggles of the South, the more I'm inclined to be skeptical as to the actual fruit of it all. It is awkward to stand on the sidelines and criticize people who are suffering for their ideals, and yet the question must be asked, what is this going to do? There seem to be so many other things with greater priority than equality of public accommodation that the blind preoccupation with this one thing seems almost pathological. In case you need it spelled out to you, this is Thomas Sowell arguing during the civil rights protests that, actually, like, arguing for equal treatment seems kind of like a waste of time. Come on. This is your guy? This is your guy who's, like, standing there being like, yeah, it's okay that, like, black people are second-class citizens? This is your guy? For real? Like, and again, this is before the Civil Rights Act passed, okay? This is before actual legislation passed to make this better. He writes, "The fervor generated in the fight for integration in all things at all costs seems more an emotional release than a sensible movement towards something that promises a worthwhile benefit." He did not think the civil rights movement was a worthwhile endeavor. This is the guy you want to make a one-act play about? Really? Or a one-man play? Solo play? Okay, here's another quote from him. "In Washington at the time, there happened to be some fifth-rate college, I'm not even sure whether it was accredited, that would not admit blacks. I thought the local civil rights group did the right thing when they denounced this racial policy, but I was appalled that they actually invested further efforts in trying to get the policy changed. Not only did this seem like an investment that ought to be put somewhere else, it annoyed me that we seemed to be constantly seeking acceptance and validation by white people, any white people at all, anywhere. Like, yeah. I'm sorry, you shouldn't you shouldn't, like, allow institutions to deny people membership on the basis of race. Oh, yeah, I agree it's a bad policy, but you're actually trying to change it so that policy isn't there anymore? That's crazy. That's a bridge too far. Like, this is all he does. It is what he's known for.